Hello, everyone. Welcome to Moral Panic with Christian and Paul. I'm Christian Watson. This is Paul Lecrone. Apologies for the very conspicuous tardiness. That's my fault. It happens sometimes, but we live in a dynamic world with dynamic people and who have dynamic lives. So that's the deal.
Yeah.
Paul, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. We were working hard to get that technical difficulty under sorts, weren't we?
Yeah. There were some difficulties. I'm not sure they were technical though.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So how have you been, man? How's this week been for you?
I've been great. This week's been pretty good. I can't complain. I launched my first online course on video editing. Actually, I don't know if you've been keeping up with what I'm doing on Twitter. Yeah, it's doing pretty well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's got a little Discord community and everything, and so I'm pretty stoked about that. And
that is wonderful.
That's been
that's great. That's awesome. I've said this several times. The self-starters are the people who are going to take this culture to a different level. The people who don't wait to be told by institutions, by sacred cows, what they need to do with their lives. Those are the people who are going to make a resounding difference in the history of this country. And I think that, however, the self-starter mentality has been under attack for a very, very long time. The self-starter mentality has been under attack for such a long time because most people are used to being directed. They're used to being told what to do. They're used to being told how to think or what to think or whatever.
And it starts with school. You go to these classes.
Yeah.
With this teacher.
Yeah. Of course it does. Of course, it starts with school. So, well, before we get into the topic today, which is in the title, let's talk about the Fox Soul hit that I had.
Sure.
A few days ago. What did you think about it? How did I do? And for those of you who are unacquainted, Fox Soul hit that I had was a debate about critical race theory on this new streaming platform called Fox Soul, which is the Fox Corporation's attempt to branch out to African American communities. So, what do you think about all that, Paul?
Well, I was only there for the final, I think, 10 minutes, and I think only seeing the final 10 minutes was enough for me to know how the other 40 minutes went, or the other 50 minutes went, because every time you spoke, you would get piled on, and I didn't see that happening to anybody else. And okay, well, I can hear their points, but it'd be interesting to hear what Christian said, counter to what these other people are saying, who I was all very unfamiliar with. So, but again, are you going to do any more mainstream media appearances after this?
Plenty.
Really?
Plenty. No, plenty. Why not? Look, I mean,
that's going to keep happening. It's look, nobody in the quote unquote intellectual dark web, conservative space with Eric Weinstein and Brett Weinstein, either they don't get invited to mainstream media interviews or they decide not to do them because they know what to expect. And it's the same bullshit every time. They talk and then they get interrupted. They talk and then it's a play on word. They put words into their mouth. Kathy Newman happens, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. Well, but people like Kathy Newman are the kind of people who exemplify the value of these new forms of media. Kathy Newman did such a terrible job that even people on her side of the fence were being very stalwart about how bad of a job that she did. So, and Kathy Newman actually kind of helped accentuate. They helped accentuate Jordan Peterson's message. So, I mean, I think there's a place. For the mainstream media appearance.
I don't know if it's necessarily her fault. I think it was her being an actor within that system. Does that make sense?
I don't buy that.
I know the thing happened forever ago, but I think she was just merely an agent for the script. Get these words out. Be this. Well, I think the underlying theme was she was part of that. And wasn't
I don't buy that.
Or maybe it was a mixture of her character being coerced into this big system where it's okay to treat a guest on a show like that.
No, I don't buy that. This is the same mentality that says, well, systems and institutions are what guide outcomes. And that's not true. Individuals are what guide outcomes. And Kathy Newman, the individual, regardless of what system she was in, has had the ability to approach Peterson fairly. You can be a stern critic and still have a fair approach to someone's message. And in fact, I think some of the best journalists have actually mastered that technique, being able to be critical in a way that appears objective. Now, one can say that's deceitful, and perhaps it is deceitful, but at least it is ostensibly more fair than the other thing.
Mhm.
Kathy Newman, however, was just randomly putting words in Jordan Peterson's mouth, reinterpreting what he was saying to fit her own narrative. So I don't buy this idea that, you know, they're a part of the system and therefore it's the system's fault. No. You make a willful choice to engage in bad conduct or good conduct, right? It's the same thing with the with the Nazi soldiers, when this is a very big debate in ethics, were the Nazi soldiers responsible for what they did? They were just following orders according to some people, but you have a choice not to commit evil. If you have a choice between committing evil or losing your life, as the great Hannah Arendt said, you should lose your life, in my opinion. I would rather lose my existence than impede upon someone else's existence in such an egregious way. Because me impeding upon their existence, while it may give me some sort of temporary comfort, that's a stain on my soul. That's a stain on my psyche. It's a stain on my being. So back to the Kathy Newman thing. I would not now. Obviously, the Kathy Newman thing is not as severe as the Nazi Germany thing, right? The Kathy Newman thing, she's not going to lose her life if she doesn't act a certain way. Might lose her job, but not lose her life. The Kathy Newman thing, I mean, you should be willing to take a demotion or to take a few hits if they are the alternative to lying and trying to distort someone's words.
Do you think that was happening on your appearance on Fox Soul? What do you
You're
think
fine.
What do you think was happening to you on Fox Soul?
So let me give credit. Tammy Mack, the lady, Tammy Mack, she does a great job. In my opinion, she was a good moderator. But my opponents, the teacher and the pastor, I think both of them, they weren't necessarily distorting my words as much as they were trying to score cheap shots by erecting straw men and trying to direct the conversation down areas that it was not meant to go down areas that were fundamentally unrelated to the topic at hand. So is that a matter of, I don't know, is that a matter of them distorting my words, or is it a matter of them being opportunist and trying to use rhetorical tactics, which are quite prevalent in the media space? I don't know what it is.
What was that one point that I don't know any of their names because I was in so late, but there was one woman who was saying that the first thing they ask you in therapy is about your father and your grandpa and your ancestors. What point was she attempting to make with that analogy? Because I forget. She was attempting to
say, so I was basically saying that the past should not be what guides our future. And they were saying, well, Christian, when you go to therapy, don't you get asked questions about the past? And the answer to that question is yes. But I don't think any therapist worth their salt wants you to stay bound to the past, though.
Right, but it's also not the first thing they ask you, first of all.
No, of course not. They ask you what's your name.
Yeah, but you are absolutely right. They don't want you to stay bound in the past because the past is full of things that you haven't sorted out yet. And like, if there's things bothering you in the past, you should kind of you should learn why. That way you can move forward. You have a more productive life. It's like, okay, past what happened. I recognize that. Like, everybody's got a past. That's still upsetting you, and there's still work to be done, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing to apologize for. You deal with that, but which is like when you talk about the atrocities of the past in any country, like America or whatever, it's good to recognize them and like, how can we stop repeating these things and just move on? Not just move on and throw it under the rug and ignore it completely, but what can we learn from it in a productive manner and create useful safeguards that aren't too extreme so that we can still have our freedom, but then moving forward in a good, dignified way. But that was the really bothered me the most near the end. There was that like
and the
demographics. Like, why do I have to check off the boxes of race? Well, it's called demographics. That's a useful tool.
Yeah, and I on this past thingy, I find that analyses that are rooted in an understanding of the past, and not really an understanding of the past, but a sort of a fixation to the past, are analysis that reject the dynamism of the human being. Human beings, ever since we came from the earth, ever since we were set foot on this earth, have been naturally progressing. In fact, progress is the sort of natural state of the human being. Even if we ignore societal progress, physiological progress is the natural state of the human being. Age is simply a marker for progress. If you reach a certain age, you're considered to have progress to a certain point, and in many places that is considered to be a sort of social good. Oh, you reached to 90? Okay, what's your secret? Whereas if you go to 27 and you die, like 27 club members did, many of them, it's like, oh God, they died too young. They didn't progress. Right. So progress itself is a natural condition of man. Now, the problem is when you try to force progress through policy, through other levels of force, that's when progress becomes a more of a nefarious thing, which is why the idea of a progressive is someone who is engaging in a confusion of terms. Progressivism thinks that you can progress people through force, through legislation. They don't recognize that progress has to be a natural thing that occurs spontaneously if it is going to be true to what it really is. And when so many progressives say we have to progress beyond a racist society, we have to do that through policy, because they're not recognizing that human beings shed their biases over time most of the times when certain things compel them to. That not all human beings think the same. That not all the human beings respond to the same kind of incentives. I mean, this is what economics teaches us. But this doesn't matter because the human being is emaciated in their opinion. There is an emaciated idea of the human being. The human being is not really considered for what it truly is in all of its majesty. So, yeah, that's my perspective on all that stuff.
If I were to, I think I'm trying to understand that argument too from the left and from the progressives. Like, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but I am really trying to
please do if you want to.
Position. No, for sure. I am just trying to put myself in their shoes.
Right.
And I think that what them at their best, the left, the progressives at their best, uncorruptible would, I think what they're trying to do is create useful systems which allow people to thrive. They should care about individuals. It's very strange to me. Very strange. I don't understand why progressives are against people like Jordan Peterson or people who are seeking to help individuals, because aren't progressives for the change, like the empowerment of people? And besides the political, but they only posit it to like the political stuff he said, but they kind of throw under the rug the fact that he's a clinical therapist who has had these lectures. And I use Jordan Peterson just only because he's a very good example, because he's immensely popular, and you can see hundreds and thousands of examples of people saying that his work changed a lot of people's lives. What's so wrong with that? But there's, I'm sure, many, like Marie Kondo has helped people, clean the room, etc. She's the you know who Marie Kondo is?
No.
Okay, she's got a Netflix series. She's from South Korea. She helps people tidy up their rooms and their homes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's really.
She's a home designer.
She's a home. She consults people. She has a show on Netflix on like how to tidy up your home and make space in your home. She's like a mindfulness person. It's, clean up your home and you'll be more mindful. You'll feel more at peace. Kind of like a Japanese philosophy to it. I'm actually kind of a big fan of her. But she's helped people. But the fact she hasn't gotten all political and stuff, like I do see similarities between Jordan Peterson and Marie Kondo, just because of the clean your room thing, it makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why it is that a lot of progressives are opposed to people who are promoting individualism. I don't understand it. I'm clueless about it. Sure, help me out.
I can tell you, because according to many progressives, first of all, so progressivism is predicated upon the idea of the egalitarian society, right? The idea that we all want to get to this sort of place in space and time in which everyone is in some cases equal, and everyone in some cases is not burdened by the lack or the poverties of material life, not burdened by a lack of access. This is why progressivism is predicated upon positive liberty, right? You have a right to vote, right? You have a right to healthcare, all this kind of stuff, because the idea is to get to a society, right, emphasize the eschaton, as Wilhelm warned us against, in which these things, which are naturally occurring in human beings, lack, deficiency, are no longer here. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that sort of broad mindset, the individual becomes almost inconsequential to your aims, because we don't experience these things solely on an individual level to the progressive. We experience these things as a society, as a group, because we're all trying to get to the utopia for the progressives. So to think of the individual in any very important way for the progressive is to besmirch everyone else, and it is to detract from getting to the idea of obtaining a utopia. That for the progressive, that's what it is. So, this is why when they talk about systemic racism, they're not talking about individual racism. No. Systems, institutions. Because for the progressive, it's all about changing them to reach a particular end. That's why the individual is not necessarily so celebrated in progressivism, because the individual really has no place in progressivism.
2
It's
points.
not a part of their calculus.
2 points I want to bounce off that. I'm not sure which one I want to pick first. Let's just go with the utopia thing. I know we're not literally in a utopia as Huxley would describe it, but we are so much more technologically and medically advanced today that I almost would say, like, here is the utopia. Here we are, here in America. Look at this. We're talking over the internet, and you're hundreds and hundreds of miles away from me. And like, despite everything that goes on in America, poverty, etc., I'm not trying to say that like those things don't exist. I'm saying it's pretty damn good here, what we have. Like, nothing wrong with proof things.
We're at the best point in human history. We're at the best point in human history.
What's that book by Stephen? I don't know if it was Steven Pinker.
I don't read Steven Pinker.
I actually haven't either. I thought he had some book called like the future is better than you think. Like here we are right now. It's pretty incredible and magical. There's so many things to be grateful for. Which is why I'm opposed to this guilt narrative too, that we should be guilty about what's going on in our country and our privilege we have. It's like, why not be grateful of the fact that you have all this stuff here in America and these opportunities? It's like, you've got the opportunities. It's going to be very hard for you to make use of those opportunities because there could be opportunities you don't even know you have. You just have so many.
Well, Paul, what's the core idea behind the idea of guilt?
Shame. The core idea behind guilt is like, shame on you.
Okay, that's one of its impacts. But what is guilt in relation?
You shouldn't have something. You shouldn't have whatever.
Okay.
You should give it up.
Guilt is only considered in context in which the individual is being compared to someone else.
Yeah, typically somebody else you have.
Exactly. And again, this is a microcosm of an ideology that thinks the individual is inconsequential to obtain their aims.
Sounds like communist propaganda. Okay.
So this idea of guilt is really accentuated by this constant comparison of the human being. And this is why the comparison trap is dangerous, not just because it leads to bad outcomes, which it definitely does in most cases, but because the comparison trap numbs you from being able to see your own greatness. And when you have this exercise on a political level, it numbs an entire society from being able to see their own greatness. This is why, on a personal level, people tell me all the time, and it gets on my nerves, "Oh, Christian, you remind me of Larry Elder. Oh, Christian, you remind me of Action Justice Warrior. Oh, Christian, Jason Riley. Oh, Christian Thomas Sowell. Okay, first of all, stop it. I'm none of those people. I'm not living any of those people. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You're an individual.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, I've heard you say it many times, so I've memorized the script.
Yes, and if it's the truth though. Sometimes you have to say.
I can't be anybody else. Even though I sound like Jordan
Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine said, "The habit of thinking something right brings that thing to mean that it is right." No. The habit of doing something constantly brings that thing that it is right. So many people have the habit of doing something constantly, the comparison trap, and thinking that it is correct from that habit to compare themselves. And of course, this simply leads to a life that is constantly framed in the presence of others and not a life that is self-sufficient. The comparison trap disrupts our ability to be self-sufficient or comfortable with our own self. Seriously. That's why I don't mess with it.
Is there a such thing you think is too much personal freedom? What does that mean?
It's funny. No.
Because
and Aaron Rabinowitz made this point, right? Aaron Rabinowitz.
Sure.
He made this point. Yeah. Aaron, the guy.
I've been thinking about it because there's consequences to having freedom. First of all, you could not use it, which is going to make you miserable. I think. Like, you and I have freedom, but if we didn't use it to do what we're doing now, who knows what we'd be doing instead? We would be doing anything else but this. But too
Maybe
much.
sulking
I
when I
don't
open it.
understand the too much personal freedom thing. Like,
Okay.
what do you mean too much? Where do we have too much?
This position is reflective of an ideology which measures freedom in degrees and not in absolutes. What do I mean by this? So Aaron Rabinowitz, who made this point, and he's not the originator of this point. There are plenty of people in the progressive left, and even in the traditionalist conservative right, who make this point. Well, too much personal or individual freedom is a bad thing. Okay, when you measure freedom in terms of degrees, you are misunderstanding what freedom is. Freedom is not a matter of degrees; it is a matter of absolutes.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that I have freedom, I mean that I have the capacity for rational action, which is bound in my DNA, which is inherent to my being. This is why the idea of natural rights includes impositions and obligations on other people, not to give me anything, but to not interfere with my life. This is why the Constitution says that the First Amendment shall not be infringed. It doesn't say the government needs to provide you with the press or provide you with religion. It says, no, it shall not be infringed. It's a negative non-interference imposition upon a body that instills an obligation. Freedom is simply a negative imposition upon other people, which instills in them an obligation not to impact you. Mm-hmm. So there is no such thing as having too much personal freedom, because freedom is quite literally natural to your being. It doesn't come in degrees. You're not given it. But people conceptualize freedom as coming in degrees so often because society, particularly progressives, have primed people to believe that freedom is given to them. Freedom comes in the form of welfare, comes in the form of healthcare, comes in the form of Medicare, comes in the form of Social Security, comes in the form of whatever.
Right.
And that's just not the case. You have no right to any of those things, or if you do have a right to those things, it is because you were put it into a contractual relationship with people who provide those things. So the entire idea of having too much freedom is a contradiction in terms. It misunderstands freedom. It's operating from a doppelganger of what people think freedom is, as opposed to what freedom actually is. There's no such thing as having too much freedom. Now, there is such a thing as having no moral obligations to act a certain way to people, towards people. Mm-hmm. There's such thing as that. But that idea is stopped by the fact that freedom itself is a negative, not necessarily bad, but negative in terms of non-interference principle.
The non-interference. So, interference bothers me. Like, that's why I'm so opposed to these ideas. It's like, leave us the hell alone.
Yes,
Jesus.
That's what freedom is.
Let the parents decide what shows their kids should watch. You don't have to have these fucking networks pull things off the air. Come on,
exactly.
Like, leave it alone. Let us. We can't make our own choices for ourselves. We have to have Facebook tell us who's an extremist and who's not. Come on, that's
no one gives me my freedom. No one gives me my freedom. I already have it. All right. There's some chats, not super chats, unfortunately. There's some chats that we got to read though. All right, Overlord Moon. I think that they're more so not thinking it through enough. They have the same goal, but the method, the path, of getting the guns, and that makes sense to me. What do you think about that, Paul?
What are they referring to again?
That's a good question. That was earlier. You tell me what you were referring to. Yeah, tell me what you were referring to, Overlord Moon. We'll get to it. Albatross, individuality comes from actually putting in work. Yep, absolutely, 100%. Yep, 100%.
So yeah, progressive needs someone or something to take care for them. Yeah, like you want to be the savior of other people's lives. You're not the hero 100%. In somebody else's life. You never are. Your therapist is not the hero in your life. You are.
No.
You're the hero.
Precisely.
If you have a therapist who's solving your problems for you, they're a terrible therapist. They're taking away the feeling that you get by actually overcoming your phobias and your anxieties. They're not supposed to do it for you. These damn progressives want to be the world's therapists.
Right.
It's really annoying.
All right. That makes sense. All -1. I have a first gen name friend. He's literally said that the U.S. is a utopia.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, come from India.
Right, but no, there's a reason why people flock here even today. And they get here, and I listened to that conversation with Yeonmi Park on Lex Fridman, and she's an escapee from North Korea. And Lex asked her, what do you see here in America that reminds you of North Korea? And everything she referred to has been espoused by the progressive left. Terrifying. It frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah, Yanami is a very courageous soul. She's a very courageous soul. Lex Friedman's good too. Not that he needs my shout
I'm a
out.
big fanboy of him. That's why I got he's
he's good.
Yeah.
He's
So I got the pull
very,
apart back.
very, very smart guy.
Yeah, he's great.
This is in comparison to how people on the left have admired India as culture. Really, people on the left have admired India. I did not know that. India is a very, very interesting case. There's a lot of poverty there, a lot of pollution there, a lot of overcrowding there. I mean, they're getting hard hit by COVID right now. I mean, I'm sure that someone who comes from India would probably think America is a paradise. No offense to India, but
no, not at all. Rough over there.
The guilt culture is excessively tough. Yep, agreed. All right. Yes, no, I agree with that. And so, yeah.
Oh, it looked like Overlord had responded to our question about which one he was referring to.
Apparently he did. Referring to progressive incentives, trying to remove bias. Right, exactly. Well, but the argument always becomes, though, that this is not up for the individual to grow out of something that could be dangerous to other people, right? There's a utilitarian calculus that is always used there. It's a utilitarian calculus. So, again, when you're talking to a progressive, you don't have the framework of the individual being able to do something independent of some broader social context. You don't have that framework. It does not exist for a particular reason. So, because you can't get to utopia, everyone's doing their own thing. Utopia requires a collective effort, right? What did was it More in his Utopia? I think it was Thomas More in his Utopia. I think More said that part of his utopia, and of course More was giving a very aggrandized idea of utopia, but part of his utopia was a sort of a mutual commerce between people. And that sort of mutual commerce implies some sort of collective cooperation, and the conditions of that collective cooperation for progressives are necessitated by force. Now, collective cooperation that is necessitated by voluntary exchange and that sort of thing, that puts the impetus upon the individual to conduct their own affairs. But when collective cooperation is hastened by force, there is the force maker, the force user is the person whose desires are being implemented in that exchange. A utopia requires the latter. A utopia cannot require individual exchange and so forth, because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So
there's no ladder in a utopia. There's no ladder. There's no reason to climb, and that's in our nature to climb. We're climbing creatures. We're going into space, for God's sake. It's
Elon is
to travel. Yeah, right.
Bezos is.
Sure. Well, we're always looking for the next journey. Always.
Right. Yeah, we are
forward.
We are. And this again, as I mentioned, the journey of human life is a journey of indeed progress.
Yeah.
But not the kind of progress that progressives think that it is. So
there's a point I want to raise when it comes to equality. Like you know where they have equality? They have equality in North Korea. Everybody's equal under the eyes of the great leader. It's like you're placed in these classes. You're not allowed to escape the class you're placed in. High class, low class, mid class. That's it for life. You're equal. You can't climb. Okay, let's go with that. No, terrible idea. Despicable idea.
When we talk about equality, we should talk about it in terms of the value of human beings, rather in terms of the skills of human beings or the appetites of human beings.
Sure.
Because at our very base core root, human beings have that natural equality. Human beings are valuable, entrenched to their being.
Yep.
And I can discern this through reason. But that natural equality does not bleed in. This is a point that I think Friedrich Hayek makes very interestingly, although he does not come from the natural law tradition whatsoever. He is not. His stuff is more Kantian than anything else. He says that just our natural equality does not necessitate that we're going to have equal outcomes. We're going to have equal skills. But the problem is progressives see the human being in social context. And so the natural equality may matter in some sort of disjointed abstract sense, but the real equality is that equality which can be obtained through social outcomes. And this implies that you can remake the human being through social institutions. And this is most certainly a position that many progressives hold. Because if you can't remake the human being, what do? You have to ban certain things to force that remaking to happen. Right? Mary Matsuda, who I think a lot of progressives would agree with, but I'm not sure she's herself a progressive, although they would agree with her on a lot. She wrote in a study called Words That Wound that the Enlightenment liberal ideas that are enshrined in the First Amendment, the sort of free speech absolutism, have to go away because they disproportionately harm minorities, people, members of color. Now, people of color, excuse me, in her words. Now, for Matsuda, it's very important that these wrong ideas or these wrong speeches are banned, because it's not simply a matter of discourse, it's not simply a matter of understanding things that are a little bit different. It's a matter of survival for certain kinds of people. And implicit in this belief, again, is a desire to remake human communication through force. So, you don't have a natural idea of man being percolated throughout the annals of progressivism. You have a superficial and artificial, rather, view of man that is being manifested through the ideas of progressivism. And when you have a wrong premise, you'll more often not reach terrible conclusions. This is a simple law of logic. So we have to try to reverse these wrong premises to reach better conclusions if we ever want to understand the human being in a meaningful way in our social discourse.
I'm just sick of these race-based and gender-based explanations for competence. One of the great things about being human, it's our faculty to improve on our skills and our crafts that make humans exceptional. I would rather have a great doctor than an okay doctor. I want the okay doctor to become a great doctor and to exist in a society in which that doctor can actually improve their skills and become a better doctor. But in places like North Korea, you can't be a great doctor because then you're making more money than anybody else. And that needs to go away. And here in America, it's like, oh, well, too many men are in these jobs and too many these races are doing this. And it's like, you can't have that. It's like, oh, dude, why does it have to be about race? Why can't it just be about competence and skill? It's that faculty which makes us beautiful.
Well, because again, the social condition of man is the dominant mode of understanding man that these people have undertaken. And when you do that, you reach some more conclusions. Okay. Lynn F. says, progressivism has infected my old church. I had to leave because critical race theory is a virus. I was welcome, even though I am a conservative and had not repented from whiteness and white privilege. What kind of church were you going to, Lynn? One of these liberation theology churches that takes progressive social causes and tries to translate them into the word of God, which is an abomination, in my opinion. What kind of church were you going to? I'm so sorry you had that experience. Eric Hansen says, both excessive individualism and collectivism are dangerous. I am wary of any ideology that fails to acknowledge the inherent trade-offs with pursuing only one perspective. What is excessive individualism? I don't know what that means. Individualism, in my opinion, is endemic to my being. I'm not sure how I can be that in excess. I don't understand what that means.
Well, you did already, maybe they weren't there when you had explained it earlier when I had asked you if there was such a thing as too much personal freedom.
And there's
another way, I think, of calling it excessive individualism, which I was attempting to understand because I didn't quite understand that because it did, like you said, it didn't make any sense to me. Collectivism, though, maybe that's another one of those things where it's like you either have it or you don't, or you can have, well, you can definitely have extreme collectivism. You definitely can, actually. I think I'm changing my mind.
Yeah. Fulchino, I hope I'm saying that correctly, says, the only positive right in the Bill of Rights is trial by jury if your peers, all others are negative rights that are restrictions. Yeah, so, but it's important to realize that trial by jury, which is, guys, don't kill me. I'm a little bit out of it today, as you guys can probably tell by my facial expressions. I think that is the Fifth Amendment due process. I think that's what it is. Okay, I think that's what it is. I'm going to embarrass myself. It's not what it is. But the sort of Fifth Amendment is predicated upon the inherent worth of the individual's life or liberty, rather. And so it's only a positive right insofar as I don't come out of the womb with the with the jury trial, right. But it is based upon an idea that is a negative, and I'm pretty sure. Okay, I probably embarrassed myself badly because my constitutional. Apparently, yeah, no, it is the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless presentment or indictment of a grand jury. So yes, it is Fifth Amendment. Yes. So the Fifth Amendment necessitates that because it recognizes the natural right of life. So that's that. Yeah. So
they said
where do you want to?
They went to a Methodist church.
A Methodist church. Okay. So the Methodists are having some upheaval.
What does synergy have to do with religion? Why is it in a church? I don't get that.
So the Salvation Army, which is perhaps one of the largest evangelical charitable organizations in the country, in the world, rather, just posted a curriculum called "Let's Talk About Race," in which they exhort their members to apologize for
all the time. Let's talk about race.
In which they exhort their members to apologize on behalf of the sins of the church. That is the exact language. There are individual members. They said, even if you have not done anything racist or bad, you must apologize on behalf.
Yeah.
You must apologize on behalf of the church. That's literally what it says. Now, in my understanding, Christ never came down to earth and said, hey, you apologize for that lady over there. From my understanding, Christ was very clear with us. He who was without sin cast the first stone. He who was without, everyone has fallen short of the glory of God. Everyone has fallen short of that sort of divine principle that we're supposed to embody. Because look, the idea of Christ-likeness is actually pretty powerful. Your Guy Young views it in terms of archetypes and all that weird stuff. I view it. I view it as a mandate of what I already have, a mandate which I can already access. The idea of being Christ-like, is a mandate that we all have the capability of accessing, whether we're religious or not. That's
quite Jungian, actually.
Because okay, he thinks that there's something more abstraction. He's a little bit more of an abstractionist about it. I think being Christ. I think being Christ-like is a very material thing that does not require me to rationalize about it.
Okay, fair enough.
So being Christ-likeness, we already have that inside of us, and it's simply about using that tool. It's simply about showing grace to your neighbor. It's simply about loving other people. It's simply about showing that sort of kindness in epistemology in terms of how you get knowledge, kindness in terms of your social affairs, kindness in terms of your political affairs, just being that graceful person. Now, if Christ-likeness was easy, everyone would be it, and that's not the case. Christ-likeness is very hard.
On being Christ-like, can I say something else about hard work? I think just trying to actualize the best potential version of yourself is beneficial to everybody. The better I am at being me, the better I am around you, the better I conduct myself when I'm by myself, just treating myself right, working hard on the things that I love to work on. The community benefits from me appreciating myself and taking care of myself and working hard to make sure I'm unleashing my full potential. It's like the community benefits. Individualism is not a selfish thing. Isn't that kind of Randian? Right. Like, I've never read Ayn Rand, but wasn't she like a stark proponent of like being quote unquote selfish because she was a big fan of individualism? Maybe I've never read any of her books, and maybe I hold fast to her views in some way, but I don't think it's a selfish thing because the community benefits from your competence. You've gotten good at speaking and YouTubing, and people benefit from it. I've gotten good at what I do, and people.
You're very nice. You're very nice, Paul.
Well, I was about to congratulate myself as well, so you're not off.
Okay.
But everybody benefits when you take care of yourself and do the best you possibly can. It sounds all woo-woo and motivational speaker, but I think it's true. It's not a selfish thing.
So for Ayn Rand, selfishness is not self-absorption. For Ayn Rand, selfishness is recognizing your importance and keeping
Yep.
your importance first and primary in your life, in
Yep.
all your social affairs. Ayn Rand recognizes, and this was one of the core precepts of objectivism, that the objective world exists and it is not live within you. You are simply a part of it.
Mhm.
Now, Ayn Rand thinks that all human relationships are a product of selfishness.
Mhm.
She thinks that even relationships are products of selfishness. You know, why? Well, my husband makes me feel nice, therefore I'm selfish and I
Yeah.
love for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You want to feel good.
sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes I think love can be a very selfless thing, and this is where I kind of diverge with Ayn Rand.
Sure.
Love can actually require sacrifices sometimes. You know, not everything that I do in a loving relationship. Now, what do I know about this? But I'm guessing now. I'm rationalizing now. But not everything I do in a loving relationship is going to necessarily be to my benefit.
Oh
In
yeah.
fact, many
Yep.
times it may be to my denigration. It may hurt me a little bit. But I'm willing to take sacrifices. I'm willing to make those very difficult decisions if it really means maintaining something higher than my current condition. You know,
Yep.
I'm always looking towards the heavens. I'm always looking towards the heavens, but that's why I tell you that this country was built off of faith, and this channel right here was built off of faith as well. I'm looking towards the heavens always. But I call you the man of faith.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking towards the heavens.
Like, I think the progressives are the narcissists. You've got these progressives who want to be like, everybody needs to tiptoe around me and like shape the world around me and my needs. I want to shape myself to cater to what the world might need from me. Like, what do people want? What might they want from me and what I can offer to the world? Instead, it's like, oh, well, we want to make sure like we're not harmed by these things and we're not exposed to any difficult material or to any trial or tribulation. I think the progressives are the real selfish people, the narcissists.
Many of them are. Not everyone, not all.
No, look, no, that's fair enough. I shouldn't say all of them. It's wrong. Like, I shouldn't. That's why I'm trying to find the right lexicon here. Like, I've been attempting to have conversations on my show with more left-leaning people and trying to expunge what it is that the left does best. And like the conversations I've had so far, some have told me that, yeah, we're not too big of a fan of the woke movement, though I'm not always entirely convinced that's true. But yeah, when I do say progressives, and they can cut this out of context if they want, it's like some of them, yeah, shellfishes.
It's funny.
Yes,
it's funny. Well,
exactly.
You know, and this idea of debate, which kind of gets back to the idea of meritocracy almost, because debate is a very refined skill that not everyone has. Rand argued that she has the problem was the focus on right. And also Rand also says that the idea of sacrifice, which goes against her idea of selfishness, is a sacrifice of values, right? So if you don't sacrifice your values, you're not sacrificing anything. The problem with objectivists is that they look. I like Ayn Rand. But I like her as a single thinker in a tradition of other thinkers. Now, for objectivists, that's a sin, because for objectivists, Ayn Rand had the correct idea. And so let me get nerdy here. There are two kinds of objectivists. There are the Ayn Randist objectivist, and then there are the Atlas Society objectivist. The Atlas Society is much more of an open-ended, less dogmatic tradition of objectivists that are willing to engage with other thinkers and other philosophers. Stephen Hicks, who is, again, a brilliant man, he comes from the Atlas Society's tradition. The Ayn Rand objectivists, however, they are much more dogmatic, much more insular, much more closed in. If Ayn Rand said it and Ayn Rand established a view on it, that's what it is. So, of the two camps, I identify more with the Atlas Society objectivists. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, Ayn Rand's views themselves, I don't think that sacrifice is merely a value judgment. It's much bigger than that. Because that kind of makes sacrifice purely a spiritual phenomenon. But it is a spiritual phenomenon with indelibly connected physical consequences.
What would those physical consequences be? Well, what is that, like a change in you literally?
So when you have faith, you may be willing to take risks that immediately do not benefit you or may hurt you.
Yep.
When you have faith, you may be willing to do some crazy things that may escape what appears to be your self-interest. Now, someone who is really a reductionist could say, well, you know, it's in your self-interest to have faith, but is it always? Is it really? Because faith is simply risk taken on a spiritual level. Is it always in my self-interest to take risk on a spiritual level that could have a high probability of hurting me? Maybe sometimes having faith is in my self-interest, but sometimes it could be just plain stupid. But I got faith. And there's something about faith that escapes reason. And this is another point where I disagree with Ayn Rand. I don't think that all of our understanding of the world is reducible to reason. There is a material world that I believe in, and there's a spiritual world. Now, I'm not a Platonist, because I don't think the spiritual world is where we get our information from. I think these are two distinct parts of reality that sometimes overlap, but typically have their own domains, right? And the Bible says that my kingdom is not of this earth. I'm not of this earth. I'm higher than this. So the idea of us being higher than this, whereas Plato would say, no. The forms are where the real ideas, the best ideas, the most beautiful ideas reside in. And if you can access those most bestest and beautiful ideas, you've got it. Like the form of the truth, you've got it. I don't believe that. I think we can find the truth right here on earth, but it requires us to be aware of what lies beneath. It requires us to be aware of spiritual dimensions. So Rand does not agree with that. She thinks that this world is all there is. And I saw one objectivist scholar, I forgot what his name was, talk about how you cannot be an objectivist and a Christian at the same time, because being an objectivist and a Christian means that you focus more on the spiritual world than the material world. And I find this to be a very zero-sum way to view epistemology. It's a very zero-sum way to view how one acquires knowledge. It's not an either-or thing, especially if you believe that the two things are interconnected. So for me, full-scale objectivism just does not work. It just doesn't work for me, man. Look, I have many objectivist friends. Now, many of those friends have left me because as I continue to grow in my brand and my work, they just don't agree with me very much. And they find, the objectivist view of friendship is very disposable. And so they find it very appropriate just to say, you know what, Christian, I don't agree with this, bye. Your values are not my values, just bye. And that's their right. But in my opinion, I think friendship should be a little bit deeper than that. So I'm sure a
lot of people have experienced that lately. With
yes.
having a view and then having a friend say, well, I don't like this view, therefore this friendship is null and void.
And there are certain ideologies that are a little bit more primed towards that than other ideologies. But no, I had no hate for Ayn Rand. I think that she is a very smart lady.
I think it's just good to bring her up and we have discussions on individualism, because she was a stark
proponent of it. I think that she was a stark proponent.
Yeah, I really like that idea, that idea of selfishness. That, well, maybe it is radical to some. I've never liked the idea of outsourcing my decision making to somebody else, my schedule to somebody else. This is why I freelance. I was very it was very strange for me to have somebody else deciding for me, like, this is where you need to be at this time, and this is these are the decisions you're going to make. That's terrible why, the rebellious spirit inside of me finally said, to hell with it, I'm going to freelance.
Right. Terrible stuff, man. And I look around my college right now, and I'm going into my senior year, and I see all of my peers right now just freaking out. Okay, where am I going to get a job at? My internship, I didn't get an internship during college. Oh my gosh, I'm doomed. And I'm like, you know what, guys? This is what I'm talking about, faith right here.
Yeah.
There are thousands upon millions of podcasts on the internet.
Yep.
Millions.
Yep.
It is a vast, wide sea of content.
Yep.
The probability of someone actually making it is very nil, very small.
Yeah.
I didn't go to law school as I was going to do when I went to college. I didn't go to medical school. I didn't go to whatever other school. I didn't go into the think tank world. I've still got folks right now begging me to go to graduate school. I've said, no, you have to go. No, I don't. No, I don't. The hell with that. I didn't take the path well traveled, which provides comfort and reduces risk.
Mm-hmm.
I decided that I was going to go and be a media personality. I was going to go and be a public intellectual. I was going to go and make YouTube videos and write articles about commenting on political and social issues and philosophical issues. I decided that was my path. There's no job description for that. There's no hiring position for that. So I did something that was, in my opinion, probably highly against my self-interest in the short term, when my amount of information that I took to do this thing was limited. Yet, I took it on faith I believed in myself. Even when I had 1 subscriber, I believed in myself. And I pushed and I pushed many long nights, many nights where I actually cried. Yes, I do cry. I actually cried because I didn't know,
Yeah, if you made the right
how I make
decision,
how I make this
yeah,
work. Exactly.
this feels
Many
crazy.
nights where I'm
What the hell am
like,
I doing? Were they
yeah,
right?
exactly. Were they right? And I had so many folks around me who loved me and meant
Yeah.
well, who
Yeah.
said, Christian, man,
When
you
that's all
can't
you
do
hear,
this.
you start to believe it. It's like, oh,
Yes, you
well, they
can't do
could be
this,
right.
brother.
Yeah.
You can't do this, brother. You shouldn't do this, man. I love you. Get a stable job first,
Yeah.
then go into this, man.
Your best
That
intentions at heart. They mean well for you. Yeah.
I was assailed by these ideas, these specters,
Yep.
these specters of despair and doubt. But I believed in myself. I worked a little. I prayed a little. I had a little faith. I sacrificed a little bit. Sorry, I ran, but I sacrificed a little bit.
Yeah.
Year
Look where you
later,
are.
2 years
Yeah.
later. I
Oh.
mean, it's not that difficult. It's not that hard.
The hardest part
It's
is believing that the faith in oneself is a real thing that you can actually tap into or imagine as a real apparatus within you. Just that little
yes,
modicum of faith in you that you're not waiting for somebody else to tell you that you can do this thing. You're not waiting for somebody else to say, here's what you should do. And here's the plan. Here's the decisions you should make. It's that faith in yourself.
yes,
It comes from within you. And people have benefited from it. So it's not a very selfish thing. You pulled yourself up by the bootstraps, but you're also pulling other people up too. Look, we've got an
trying
audience
to.
here. Yeah, really. And I think that's what happens when you pull yourself up by the bootstraps is people benefit from it. Now that can also be corrupted. Everything can be corrupted. Bootstrapping individualism itself can be corrupted. You've got like crony capitalism, but that's not what you're doing. You're doing it in a holistic matter, in a wholesome matter.
Right. If you acknowledge that certain journeys are not good for you, I assume he meant good for you, and then you decide to pursue one that you value most, given your perspectives and knowledge at the time, that is not faith. No, it is faith, though, brother. It is faith. Brother says, I'm not sure if you're a girl or a man, and I'm not sure, excuse me, but it is faith, man. It's faith. Because
if you
guess
acknowledge
what?
that certain journeys are not for you, that's self-awareness.
Yes, that's self-awareness.
Well, yeah, and I'm just trying to unpack, and then you decide to pursue. Then you decide. That's a self decision. You're deciding it, given your perspectives and knowledge. That is not well. You're having a modicum of faith related to your own decision making. Like then that's faith to that. That's
right. Exactly.
There's faith in that. Like you've corrected course along the path. It's not like everybody knows exactly what they're going to do. That happens, but I think it's faith.
Yeah, this extends the idea of libertarianism having an atheist problem. If I'm advocating for government endorsement of religion, what does my faith matter to you? Well, so I agree with you. Look, so your faith does not matter to me, Jin Kaza, in the government sense. And of course, I care about your soul. I care about your spiritual health. I care about you as a person.
Right.
But your faith does not matter to me in terms of a government sense. You believe what you practice is your business, and the government has no business getting involved in that. I agree with that entirely. Now, I mean, unless you're sacrificing human beings, then we have a problem. If you're like one of in most cases, the government has no case getting involved in that. But libertarianism is a very diverse and very large thing. It's not just a matter of atheists that are getting together who want to be libertine. No, it's a matter of people who understand that they are naturally free in any circumstance. So young people like yourself that's very Gen Xers. Wait, so how Gen X is like 14, 15?
TikTok age? I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. I'm just 21. But thank you. I mean, look, I try.
Well, there's a reason why we're not doing this on college campuses, because we would not be allowed.
Oh no, I would need body armor. Yeah, no, I try. Oh, 47. Oh, you were born in 47. My goodness. Okay, you go, man. Wow, you're an elder. That's good. It's good. Yeah. Well, look, I am happy to have your viewership because I got a lot to learn.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot in your life. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I also like.
You're 47. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my gosh. Born in 47? Jesus, my lord.
So when are we going to talk about how the Protestant work ethic is considered a white thing? Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a white man's idea.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So
sorry about that.
When Booker T. Washington laid out his bootstraps theory, he was accused of trying to assimilate to white dominant society. And this is why W.E.B. Du Bois, one of the main reasons why Du Bois just hated Washington, just couldn't stand him. And so that view from Washington has been translated into the modern era, where conditions are certainly very different than they were in the late 1800s, to mean that if you suggest that people who have been institutionally or systemically oppressed try to lift themselves up to their hard work, you're not understanding the inequity of their circumstance, right? This is the idea of equity as a means of detecting outcomes, or as a means of weighing proper outcomes. Well, the problem of this is, again, it assumes that human individuals are systemically and institutionally determined, and we're not. We're not. And now, and this reminds me a lot of the privilege walks.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
If your parents gave you this much money, step forward. And the idea is to get a very small sample size, to have a lot of the people be white, a few of the folks be black. And then so the black folks appear to be the most disadvantaged. And then that can then be used to okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, I've read most of the Soul of Black Folk, and I've studied Washington. So I'm pretty familiar with the dispute and the angles of the dispute, and I think Washington was mostly right, personally, but yeah, if folks want to go check that out, they can do that. Back to what I was saying about what was I saying? I lost my train of thought.
Washington and Du Bois.
No, not that. I was talking about
familiar with the with that discussion.
Institutions. Really, you are?
Yeah, I am actually. No, yeah,
really,
I'll admit it. Yeah. I'm okay with admitting my ignorance. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, no. I made it every day. So W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington were both African American thought leaders in the late 1800s, and they posed two radically different ideas of how black folks should proceed in the post-Civil War, post-Reconstruction world. Mm-hmm. Washington wanted black folks to work on themselves and their communities. Du Bois wanted black folks to get involved in political activism to change their conditions. Washington thought that was a waste of time. Okay. Now, I think that both of them had great points.
Sure.
I think that back then, it was essential for an African-American person to be involved in some kind of political activism to get rid of the unjust laws that were settling them. However, it was not essential for an African-American person to make their entire existence about political issues. And this is precisely what had happened and what continues to happen in many African-American circles today, more than 100 years later. Mm-hmm. So that's the dispute summed up in a nutshell. I can send you some more resources if you'd like to read more deeper into it. Mm. I encourage you. The Soul of Black Folk is a good book to read if you want to understand Du Bois. I can't say his name. His thought. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Look, we're gonna do some call-ins in a few moments. Are we not? I want to do the second hour for call-ins. Yeah. So, Paul, if you have any points you'd like to make before we do the call-ins, then please go ahead and do so.
Well, giving any race-based explanation for a deep value just seems nonsense to me. Just like, oh, hard work is a white man's idea, and if you're black or Asian or Indian, you're espousing this white man's idea. Like, what? It doesn't. I'm tired of this rhetoric. I'm just tired of it. It's exhausting. Just call it.
Me too, man.
Have to slap white or yellow or red to the beginning of these values? Why can't it just be guilt? Why can't it just be great?
Me too.
Like, just remove the color. And I'm also trying to understand the anti-color-free movement too. And I know you're part of it. What's the group called?
Color Us United.
Color Us United.
Yeah. I'll discuss that in a second, okay? So sure. We have a minute before the next hour.
Ties into.
So we'll be back in 2 seconds, okay?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Right. Yeah.
Righty. All right, guys. So let me explain this sort of anti-collectivist, anti-color movement. So Color Rush United is not so much anti-color as it is pro-individualist. Right? We believe that we are not defined by these sort of arbitrary characteristics that seem to give life to so many racial conversations and identity-based conversations in America. We believe that we are defined by our fundamental human uniqueness. And that fundamental human uniqueness has to account for something. So, I'm against classifying people in terms of their colors because that's only a single part of them. That may not even mean very much. But society has convinced us that it does mean quite a bit. So that's the primary basis for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you explained that before I butchered it.
Yeah, of course. Now,
it doesn't mean
we've got a few folks in here, so I'm not sure how many folks will do this, but we're gonna do call-ins, guys. So if you want to call in and talk to us, either of us, about anything you want to talk about, then please do it. We'll do this for a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. So just please be respectful. That's all I ask. So you just click the link and comment. You can call on the show if you want to. Now, I did pensive politics the other day.
Yeah.
I did pensive politics the other day, and it wasn't very. No one wanted to call in for some reason. I don't know why. No one wanted to call in. No,
I wasn't there. That's why.
Maybe you seem a more okay. No. All right, we're not. This is not happening today.
Hey, Christian, how are you?
That's not happening.
Maybe they're shy. Yeah, give us some time.
That's not happening.
It's been 20 seconds. We can just keep the show going. I think it's been.
Oh yeah. So if you guys want to call in, then please feel free to do so.
Do they have to make a StreamYard account?
No, not at all. They can just log in.
They just log in. Okay.
Yep. Just log in.
Should be easy. All right. Yeah. My internet connection is too slow, otherwise it would. Yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
Sometimes that happens. Yeah,
that happens sometimes. But yeah, so I'm very. Oh, okay, John D. Okay, who is this?
Okay,
who is it? Okay, it's probably someone being deceptive. John D. Show your screen before I let you on.
Oh yeah, like that. Can't be allowing anonymous callers.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. I'm sorry.
You gotta turn your webcam on, even if you're a virtual anime girl. You gotta come on, turn your webcam on. We want to see your beautiful face.
This is why we don't allow anonymous callers. So let's just keep the show going. And if someone wants to call in who's legitimately serious, they can.
What have you been reading lately?
I was reading one of Ralph Waldo Emerson's essays called Spiritual Laws last night.
Okay.
And what Emerson says in Spiritual Laws. Oh, Alexandra, how are you? How are you doing, Alexandra? How's life going? Why are you sad, Alexandra? Don't be sad. This is one of my most ardent. It's one of my most ardent supporters right here. I love Alexandra. You are awesome, Alexandra. Love you.
I didn't know about this.
Oh. Well, I need to be better at marketing. And Alexandra, if you want to call in, the link is in the chat, and I would love to hear from you. You are a blessing always.
Desperate.
Yes. No, we're not desperate. Okay, Paul. All right.
You gave him like 20 seconds to join. It's like, oh, whatever.
No. If people want to call in, they can call in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But so I was reading an essay called Spiritual Laws by Emerson. And in that essay, Emerson, and one of the most profound quotes in that essay is, strong instincts and a few plain rules are all man needs to survive. So, strong instincts and a few plain rules are all man needs to survive. So, what that means is Emerson believes that a lot of societal constructs are needless to the pursuit of knowledge. He says there is nothing inherently valuable about a set of books that come from a Latin school than from a set of books that are sitting under a tree. He thinks that the purpose or the aim of education in his society has become so distorted and concerned with name brands and institutions and not concerned with the knowledge contained therein. He said that so many of our youth are saddled by the complaints of original sin and all these sort of intellectual concepts. But his argument is that man does not need all these intellectual concepts to survive. All he needs is a few plain rules and instincts. Now, I disagree with Emerson in the sense that I think that it helps us to understand what is higher, what is beyond our life.
Yeah.
I think that it helps us to do that. Okay. It helps us to understand that.
Simple rules.
But Emerson is more of a practical kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
He genuinely believes that that if you have a few things, if you adhere to nature, and for him nature is a sort of evolving spiritual idea, not this sort of set thing, then you're good. And, I think I agree in part. I think that a lot of education today has become concerned with distractions, diversions from what is important.
Yeah.
But do I think that means that we need to get rid of all of our attempts to rationalize things and understand abstract concepts and understand how these concepts work with the world? No, of course not. No, I think that the idea of original sin kind of exemplifies or helps us understand humanity at a little deeper level. I think the idea of privilege helps us kind of understand, okay, what is the real nature of the individual, the human being, in which is a society. But Emerson would say, no, these ideas are distractions, guys. You don't need these ideas. All you need to do are use things that are particular to you in your life, and you'll be okay.
Particular to you. So innate.
Yes. So Emerson does not believe. He does not believe in these grand abstract rules that bind us together. He doesn't believe in natural law or anything. No, Emerson believes in doing what is practical to your life. Nietzsche loved Emerson for this reason, because Emerson, his ethics were more descriptive than they were normative. Normative being telling you what you can or cannot do. So, but Emerson, I would dare say, is a great thinker. And I think that everyone, he was a rabid individualist. I shouldn't say rabid. He was very much an individualist. And I like his kind of individualism. But I genuinely believe that Emerson, I think that he's a valuable thinker to look at.
Tapping into that reservoir that's within you.
Traits. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm going to let this person on the call. But first of all, the person, you have to change your name. You got to change your name first.
What's their name?
And the moment something awry happens, and I'm being serious this time, I'm going to ban you. So don't do anything bad, please. I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
Wait, what's their name?
I'm dead serious.
Are we not allowed to say like a bad name?
Hello.
Oh, it's this guy.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Carson heart emoji thing.
Yes.
Say your real last name?
I wish it was.
Handful of love.
Yeah. So how's the stream going?
It's been going good. We're
good like so far.
An hour, 8 minutes. Hour, 8 minutes in. It's going well.
That's good. One thing. I was actually going to. What was I going to say? So, I think. Well, I'll just, I have a topic I'll ask about.
Sure.
So, on religion, okay, so here's a question I've always had on religion. I don't know how familiar either of you are with it, but so with let's say, I guess you could say, theism, right? If you accept the Kalam cosmological as true, how do you know which religion it connects to, and how do you find I guess you could say, the continuation of a religion to the Kalam cosmological? Because for me, at least, I see it as kind of I see a build up here. I guess if you want to see it visual, I see a build up here, and then I see a gap, and then I see the Kalam cosmological. So I don't necessarily personally see how it's possible for it to switch from one to the other. So I was wondering your thoughts on that.
What's the gap in the Kalam cosmological argument?
Well, not in the Kalam cosmological, but in its connection to a specific religion, basically. How do you know which religion it actually is basically legitimately representing? I think
you're asking the Kalam cosmological argument to go further than it has the ability to do. So the Kalam cosmological argument, and for those of you who don't know, It was made by this.
I don't know.
It was made by this theologian to sort of establish the existence of a first cause, an intelligent designer, and it was never intended to make a statement about temporal structures that we call religion. It was intended to make a statement about the eternality or the probability of the eternality of a certain being. So you can't, because it's like saying, well, how can I fill up my car? How can I fill up my gas tank with water? Well, you can't, because the water is not meant to fill up your gas tank. The water is meant for a particular purpose, to nourish your body. So there is no connection between the Kalam cosmological argument and a particular religion. Now, I think there are other reasons to believe that Christianity probably better reflects the idea of an intelligent designer. I think that the historical account of Christ makes more sense than a lot of other religions, just on first specs. I think that the miracles of Christ, which have been historically attested to by many people, whether you believe them or not, seem more plausible to me than a lot of the other things. I think there are all kind of other reasons to prefer Christianity as a matter of faith to any other idea of an intelligent designer. But I mean, is there any hardcore empirical evidence to say Christianity is the correct religion? I guess not, but I think that it is perhaps the most plausible one out of a lot of the ones that are currently being posited right now.
Interesting.
That was a good question.
Thank you.
Because I was completely lost in that conversation. That's when you know it's a good question. That's
from my Christian apologetics days. I used to study Christian apologetics immensely. I didn't go down that route for a few reasons. Number one, I'm not sure a gay Christian apologist would ever work. It wouldn't be accepted, unfortunately. Number two, I think that's a very niche area, which has already had a lot of very proficient and established talent like William Lane Craig and John Lennox and all the other guys that are very good at this kind of stuff, and they don't need me to help them out. Number three, I think that I wanted my studies in philosophy to be a little bit larger, a little bit more wider in their breadth than to be confined to that particular thing. So I just didn't go down the Christian apologist route, but I could have.
Interesting. Well, thank you for your answer to that question. I think that's all the questions I have. So,
all right. Bye, Carson.
Bye.
That was a shot in the dark. If you guys want to come on and talk to me and Paul, please. There's a link. There's a link right here. Okay, I can't. I hope I have a link.
Repost it
right there. There it is.
And
you can just come on and have a conversation with us. But yeah, so Paul, I'm not sure you knew this, but I take an interest in studying religions. A deep interest in studying religions. Because a lot of folks think I just do politics and woke stuff. I do more than that kind of stuff.
All I know about religion, I've learned from Jung. That's it.
Oh dear.
He was a big proponent of Christianity.
I have nothing against Jung.
I can't wait to have this discussion with you in depth once you actually really read him. I am very much looking forward to it, to hear what you have to say, your thoughts, because it's very interesting. I can't wait.
I have nothing against the guy.
I know. I'm not saying you are.
No,
I'm not trying to be combative. I'm just saying I'm very interested in having this discussion with you.
Oh, we'll have it. Believe you me, we'll have it. No, I think he's one of the more interesting thinkers to come out of the 20th century, if you ask my honest opinion. The 20th century didn't have a lot of a wide amount of interesting thinkers. She had a few. Bertrand Russell, you had Russell Kirk, you had Michael Harrington, you had Michael Oakeshott, you had a few to come out of the 20th century, but not as many as previous centuries, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. With these hyper intellectual people, you could kind of a degree of strangeness there. It's very interesting.
Well, I don't know how much Jung is read in psychology classes today.
It's not. Trust me.
He's not.
No, because I had a psychology textbook and there was one excerpt about Jung in the entire textbook. The rest of it was just about different perspectives of psychology, but Jung only had, you could dedicate an entire textbook to, and he wrote many, many, many pages of material. So I kind of understand it because it was an introduction to psychology class, So you could have entire lectures on Jung, but he was just kind of shoved into one corner of a page, and the rest was about, well, Freud got a lot more textbook space than he did, but he's not read all that often. But you come from a more philosophical background. I come from a more psychological background. So it's interesting to see our lines converge. It's very fun.
Yeah, it is. I agree with you.
It's also fun to do this show with the audience too.
Yeah, when they're interactive.
Are we audience blaming right now, Christian? Are we making the audience into our victims? Is that what we're doing? We're blaming the audience?
We're not making the audience anything. No.
No, we're not. We love you guys.
No, of course. We appreciate you guys spending your Friday afternoon at this point. Yeah, afternoon at this point. With us. It's interesting. I'm not sure I would have made that decision myself, but I appreciate it.
Hashtag
victim mentality. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. We're
all victims of our own oppression.
I want to try to do 2 more call-ins.
Sure.
So
okay. Bold.
Let's try to do. If you guys want to.
We might have to call you. We're going to call you guys. We got your phone number.
I might have to do that too. Who knows? At this rate, excuse me, not road.
This is going to be every Friday? Yeah, it's going to be every Friday. Same time, 11 a.m.
Yes, PST. Alexandra, this is every Friday. Every single Friday. And later today, I have a video coming out about NPR and why we should defund it.
I cannot wait for that. Do you want to talk? Do you want to save it for the video, or do you want to?
I'll say this much.
Okay.
I am against the idea of state-run media in general.
Great. Me too.
That's all I'll say. Yeah. And people will say, well, NPR is privately held and publicly held.
Right, it's both. It's mostly state held.
Yeah, it's mostly state held. Precisely. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it goes back to my point of outsourcing decision making and thinking that parents are too stupid to make decisions for their own kids. Everything has to be about education. See, my problem with you said, I'm also talking about PBS, but they're sort of related. My problem with PBS and NPR, it's PBS is more so for kids, or PBS kids. That's what I'm talking about. It's not everything has to be about education with children. And NPR is they also just don't report. They pretty much report the same thing all the time. It's also state funded. It's what bias does the state have that's being expounded upon through NPR? Okay, we got to think that way now.
Yeah, so I've got a few tools in the satchel to attack NPR with, and we're gonna explore them tonight. And I think that it's gonna be a good video. Hopefully, it'll be a popular video.
Most radio hosts on NPR. Yeah, that's because he has volume. Terry Gross just has one. It's the same.
I would rather listen to Christian's voice than most radio hosts. Thank you, Eric. That's very nice of you.
You got that tempo. I'm too slow for radio. That's all your podcast.
Well, that's fair, Eric. That is very nice of you, buddy. Thank you. That is very nice of you. That I'm humbled. I'm very humbled.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, wow, that's nice of you. I don't know how to take compliments.
Yeah, it's hard as hell.
Some people know how to take compliments, but
yeah, it's a skill. You get better at it.
For those of you who just came in, if you want to click the StreamYard link and come in and talk to us, you can. It's in the chat, and we would like to hear from you. This is interesting. I was thinking about something the other day, Paul. I was thinking about just how. Why do you think the academy is how it is today? Why do you think the academy is this way? Why do you think the academy is built? The academia is built upon a particular set of thinkers who you're not supposed to go outside of if you want to understand a particular thing. Why is it like this? Why are people like Jordan Peterson concerned?
Because the university should be a place that you go and learn something useful and that you're inspired by, and you should leave university a better person than when you entered it. But why is that happening?
Mm-hmm.
God, I wish I could tell you, because there's groups, be specific would be helpful. The hyper intellectual leftist elite wants to have all the power. That's what I think. It sounds conspiratorial, but I think it's true.
Interesting. You think the reason? Sorry, go on.
Because if you left college and you weren't inspired about the world around you, then it was a failure. then you wasted a huge amount of time and money going there. And like I've been around a certain university before, but I've never gone to university. But you get the sense from the discourse today that young people aren't being inspired by college anymore. You go there and you're told about guilt. Not. You go there and you're forced to go on a mandatory privilege walk. I think it's like,
and even if it wasn't inspired. And even if it wasn't about guilt or whatever, I mean, just a lot of young people, from my experience at least, treat college as a chore. Okay, I got to go to this class. I got to do this at 6 o'clock. I got to do it. And they treat it as a means of them getting a job. They have been deluded by a lie that college is the primary means by which you get a job, because there's this old stat. Well, college graduates make more than non-college graduates. Well, guess what? They have more debt too. What's their opportunity cost, right? What's their opportunity cost? So
college kids know how to navigate the landscape of college, which is not, like, don't treat it as a mechanism by which you just earn a job. Look, right. I know people who've gone to universities who are jobless, or who just get thrust into a job at a grocery store. It's like, why is that happening?
Yep. Well, we got someone.
Like, why are you in college?
We got someone. Hello. How you doing, Fulchino?
Yo.
Hello. I am in fact a guy. I guess my sex is male, and I identify with a male gender.
So that's
just
great.
Wanted to clarify.
Hey, me too.
Questions we're currently.
Hey, me three, I guess. I guess I don't know.
Join the club.
Everything these days, I guess. I don't know.
It's a sausage fest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So what's up? How are you?
Pretty important question. Christian, what is the best way to support you? Which platform has the lowest costs? So which one gives you the most money?
Aw, that's very nice of you. These questions, man. Look, so whenever I get a donation, I almost cry. That's something I'm working on. Just this question gives me butterflies. But the best way is probably PayPal. I mean, Patreon's okay, but they take a lot of my money. So PayPal is probably better. I mean, PayPal. And my PayPal is my email, which is going to be in the chat in a few seconds. And it's also everywhere as well. It's on my pages. So that's probably the best way.
Okay. Yeah, I wish there was a better real-time alternative to Super Chat, since that takes 30%.
Yeah, so do I. Super Chats are, but they pay off sometimes. It depends on how many people give, right? And it depends on how much people give, because YouTube takes about 34, 35%, I think, something like that. So yeah, no, PayPal's probably the best way. I just, I hate asking folks for money. I hate doing it, even though I do it at the end of all my videos. I do. I don't.
Well, the more money you get, the more you can keep doing this, and
I suggest people, hey, support me, please.
Yeah.
I suggest, hey, if you want to. Now, there are some creators that will say, hey, guys, I need this. And I don't do that. That's a little bit too abrasive, in my opinion. But, hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. Got to do what you got to do. So,
well, thanks for listening, too. We appreciate the hell out of it.
Please.
Yeah.
Please. You're helping us, our views go up, which is going to be very important for the algorithm later on. So, thank you so much for listening and for engaging in the chat as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're watching this and you haven't hit that like button yet, then you should go ahead and do that.
I don't even know how many likes do we have in the chat. I don't even know.
I have no idea. I'm on StreamYard.
Yeah, I can't. They don't tell us here.
Yeah. That's very. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I would like to push Christian a bit on atheism and faith.
Okay.
So atheism is sort of just an antithesis to theism. It doesn't indicate anything other than simply not having belief in God. And I think a lot of people impose ideas into that when I don't see it as having anything really that it stands for. It's just a negation of an argument or it's another thing. But like, what do you see as faith being, and like, what is the value of it?
So you're asking two questions. You asked me, what do I see as faith being, and what is the value of faith? So one is a sort of consequential question. The other is a sort of inherent principle question. So I think that to even be able to address the second question, the first question is essential. So what do I see as faith? I think that I trust the classical definition of faith, although the Kierkegaardian definition of faith is also pretty compelling to me too. But the classical definition is that faith is the evidence of things not seen. And I think all that means is that, and now there have been many interpretations of that idea in the Bible for ages. But what I think that means is that it is an aspiration that certain things will come into play when you put the effort of those things to come into play. And so that's why you do them, because it's evident that things not seen. And it kind of appeals to, in a sense, in terms of its phraseology, it appeals to the human desire for evidence, right? When people say that we need evidence for a certain proposition, that's kind of the basis of many of our epistemic conversations. Epistemic meaning that related to knowledge. And so when I say that, when the Bible says, or when other folks say that faith is the evidence of things not seen, it is a way of conforming to that language. It is a way of applying a spiritual concept, not i.e. something not being seen, to the language of the empirical, i.e. things that we can see and measure. So what is the value of that? Well, I think the value of that is, it could be many, many things. For me in my own personal life, it has been, has given me the energy to push for certain objectives that, if I looked solely at material conditions, were most likely impossible for me at a particular time, or were highly unlikely for me at a particular time. For other people, it can help them deal with mental and emotional tremors. For other people, it can help them handle existential questions. Now, whether these are good ways of handling anything I just mentioned is up for debate. But I think the value of faith, even if it is detached from the, not viability, but the soundness of the idea of faith. One can say that faith is unsound for many different reasons, but the value of faith, I think, is almost self-evident.
Like, it's almost good enough, the value
yes.
of faith. It's at least good enough. We're not sure if it's the perfect solution, but let's give it a shot. Let's at least try it out and see what happens.
Right.
Because we can't really forecast exactly what's going to happen in our future, but we can kind of get better at our predictions by getting ourselves into good habits, which are an act of faith. And like, well, this might work, it might not. Well, what if it does work out? Oh, it worked out. That led to a good consequence. So I'm going to keep doing whatever it was that I did that led to a good consequence over and over again.
Right.
And people benefit from that. That's a good question, man. You guys come up with great questions.
Very good question.
Yeah. Good answers from you.
Probing a bit deeper, if there is like a reasonable expectation that taking certain actions will lead to a certain end result, is that still considered faith? Or do you see or think that faith means that it doesn't have evidence? Like, we think dark matter exists, even though we don't directly observe it, but there's like ancillary spectroscopy stuff that we see. Right.
I mean, the dark matter is actually one of the exemplifications of scientific faith. I was hearing Michio Kaku talk about it the other day, and he's just like, "Yeah, we really don't know what this stuff is, but we just call it this." Yeah. And now, of course, Michio Kaku is a popularizer, although he's a really brilliant man. So I obviously that's not the entirety of the explanation of dark matter, but I digress. So you're asking a question of probability here. And I think that if you do take a certain set of, so faith is typically doesn't come into play in something that is tried and true. If you know that, if I know that I'm going to get in my car in the morning and go to work, and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to get paid at my job. These are things that have very high probabilities of happening if these conditions exist in the first place. So I wouldn't need very much faith. Now, if my car is on the verge of breaking down and could collapse at any minute, I might need a little bit of faith to go in there and to motivate myself to go to work. I don't know. But I guess if you have like some formulas out and you're mechanically proficient and you can discern, this car has this much life left to it. I don't know. So it depends on your vantage point. So there are certain sequences of actions that don't necessitate faith, but there are other actions that really don't have, they're not tried and true. They're amorphous. They're vague. They're uncertain, as much as certainty can be obtained, which is probably in a way that is very little. So I don't think that it's an all or nothing answer. I think that there are some actions that absolutely in my opinion, now for others it may not, but in my opinion, according to the reasoning I laid out, require some kind of faith if you want to pursue them. And there are others that are so rote and so common that having faith for those actions would be like having faith that, you're gonna wake up in the morning. And most people could probably say, unless they're stricken with some kind of condition or they are extraordinarily old, that they'll wake up in the morning because they can expect that. The probability lies it's high. So I think it's a very nuanced question that requires a lot of different lenses to address it.
Mm-hmm. And would you consider the objectivist concept of the benevolent universe premise to fulfill the criteria you laid out?
I don't know. So I don't know the benevolent universe premise. You'll have to explain what that is to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have read a few of Rand's novels. I have been to 2 Ayn Rand conferences. I've been in discourse with people like Greg Salmieri and Henry Binswanger and Stephen Hicks. So I have had exposure to objectivist ideas, but I have not taken a deep dive into objectivist metaphysics or whatever, or epistemology. So you have to explain to me what that is, please.
Okay. Objectivism is the name for a philosophy that Ayn Rand.
No, I know. I know it. Okay, I know what that is. Okay. Sorry,
she considered it a closed philosophy, so she disagrees with the Atlas Society.
Right, exactly.
Within the philosophy, she said that morality is the practical, and such that doing moral things would be good for the individual's flourishing.
That's right.
And so there's sort of like this expectation that if you are acting in a moral way, that good things will happen, and that if other people act that way, the same will happen to them, and that just generally the universe will be just and properly reward people for taking moral actions. So maybe a more popularized version of the phrase is, the moral arc is long, but it bends towards justice.
Right.
Something in that vein.
I mean, I haven't given much thought to that particular idea, and so I want to be very careful before making an assumption on the fly, because I like to be a careful thinker. But I mean, I think that there can be moral actions that have bad consequences and can lead to bad outcomes, and that can but that doesn't necessarily negate the action's morality, in my opinion. It may negate its desirability, but I don't think it necessarily negates its morality. So I don't know. I'll have to actually read the idea a little bit more and read it in the context that Rand was talking about it, and before I can make a more informed comment. But on the periphery, I'm not entirely sure if I embrace that viewpoint entirely. I think that if people do moral actions, there's a potential for good things to happen from those moral actions. But I think that there could be something bad that happens that may still have been a result of a moral action. For example, it is a moral action for me to withhold my labor or my property from someone else's life. If I'm on a lake and I see someone drowning, I have no moral obligation to go save them. Now, it's probably a nice thing to go do and save them, and I would probably try to save them if I had the ability to, but I have no inherent moral obligation to save them. And for someone to force me to try to save that person is immoral. So me doing that moral action, not saving someone from drowning, could possibly result in the death of someone else. So, I mean, there are plenty of moral actions that can be bad or not beneficial to particular people. And I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard. Now, I don't know exactly if Ayn Rand meant just that. It doesn't sound like to me that she meant just that, because I'm familiar with her work, and I don't think that she would be so much of a consequentialist. Because what you described to me seems very consequentialist to me. So I don't know about that, but I'll have to actually read it, and I'll get back to you later. I'm not a fan of hot takes. Paul, do you have any opinion on this?
I've never read Rand. I would just be me on the periphery here. I'm only familiar with her ideas about individualism, and even that's at a sort of surface level, just from what I've heard through the grapevine of what other people said. I've never read her directly.
Mm-hmm. I dropped a link to the Ayn Rand lexicon in the chat.
I'm familiar.
But the way it phrases it is that like the universe is neutral. It sort of reacts to what you're doing in a stated manner, And so if you're acting in a way that is practical, the results that you get out will be beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That seems sort of plausible to me, just from what...
I mean, it seems plausible, but I think the importance of practical action, I don't know. It is not tied necessarily to their outcomes always being good. I think the importance of practical action is tied to what is best for the individual in the context of a moral order. Now, I believe that there is a order to the universe. I believe there is and the Heraclitus expresses this idea, sort of the logos. There is a sort of fundamental, intelligible order to the universe. It's where Ayn Rand and I disagree, because she thinks that the universe is neutral. I think that the universe has a mind behind it. I think the mind is God. And I think that this sort of order of the universe gives me a sort of basis by which I can determine if an action is, I don't know, practical or not. And this order of the universe is not necessarily a spiritual thing, right? It's not necessarily God. It's not like divine command theory. This order of the universe is simply how things are and how things regulate themselves, because the universe is a very active thing. It's a very dynamic thing, right? Ecosystems, they act according to certain principles. Gravity acts according to certain principles. And I think that morality also acts according to certain principles. And it doesn't matter the consequences of those principles so much as it does the content of them. And so far as them being beneficial, right? So that's just my opinion.
If you have faith, what are the things that you have faith in?
Well, I have faith, and I have faith in my own abilities, even though my abilities right now are caked in a context of ambiguity, insofar as I don't know how my abilities are going to grow as the future goes on. I don't know how my career is going to progress as the future goes on. But I have faith that I can hold on to these things, and that these things will progress to a certain way. And there is not even evidence right now that these things will progress to a certain way. Let me be a little more specific. I have faith that I can reach 100,000 subscribers by January of next year. I got faith that I can do that. Now, there's not a single piece of evidence here that is going to convince me that I can do that. But it's not outside of the realm of probability, because I have faith that this message is getting out there to people, So my ability is one thing I have faith in. I got faith in people that I love, I got faith in future endeavors I'm going to undertake. I have no idea if I'm going to do well this semester, my last semester of university, because I got a lot of things going on this semester. I got a lot of priorities that I'm juggling this semester. But yeah, I still have faith that I can do well, even though there's not necessarily.
Do you have faith in humanity?
What does that mean?
Do you have faith? Some people seem to think that they've lost faith in humanity.
That's bullshit.
It's all downhill.
Excuse me, that's bullshit. Excuse my language, but okay. I can't have faith in I don't have faith in a total abstraction. Humanity is a total abstraction. I have faith in individual people sometimes, depending on who the people are. But how can I have faith in this sort of faceless blob, this sort of faceless mass that supposedly represents humanity?
Yeah, the question always posits that everybody in humanity is supposed to be working on one goal.
Yeah, that's not
like, I've lost faith in humanity because we're all not on the same page about one topic. That's sort of, I think, the reasoning behind it.
Right. So, no, I don't have faith in collective abstractions. I have faith in individual concrete people.
Great. Well, that was my last question. Thanks for having me. I need to get back to work. If
no
anyone
problem.
in the audience is interested in learning more about Ayn Rand and you want to pursue the more artistic aspects, her two most prominent novels are Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. If you prefer something more modern, there is a music artist on YouTube called Rucka Rucka Ali. He's got a lot of stuff, including some philosophical rap battles. So those are interesting. There's also a lot of nonfiction. It was a pretty coherently developed philosophy overall. pretty similar to some of the natural law stuff that Christian has talked about, though there are some differences.
In some ways, it is.
Today.
In some ways, it is. Not in all ways. In some ways, it is.
Mm-hmm. So be sure to trade value for value and show Christian how much you value him via the super chat below. Thanks. Have a good day.
Before you go,
we need to pay you for that.
Before you go, you seem very familiar. Do you have a YouTube channel or something? You seem very familiar.
I guess technically have a YouTube channel. I just use it to listen to music.
Okay. There's this one
philosophy podcast that are no longer on the internet anymore. So
okay,
probably not.
There's this one objectivist YouTuber who has a small audience, but he's pretty prolific, and he's done some stuff with Workout Ali. I forgot what his name was, but anyway, that's besides the point.
We're gonna get you fired from your job if you stay.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to have Caitlin Patterson on?
Okay, Caitlin. Okay, you think I'm a fraud?
You butchered that name.
Okay, Caitlin, come on, talk to me.
You know what an abstraction is, right?
Let's talk. You think I'm a fraud? Let's talk, brother. Come on. I just say a bunch of big words. Okay. I've got
a pretty small brain, and I understood what you said to me.
Let's talk, Caitlin. I mean, you think I don't? Well, let's talk. I mean, hey, I'm waiting.
This is the anti-keyboard warrior section.
Come on, if you think I don't know what these words mean.
Abstraction. That's 3 syllables, man. That's too long for me.
Yeah. Simply an idea that does not necessarily have material correspondence, but can be created and changed and reversed in this sort of realm that is beyond our sight. An abstraction.
Yeah, that's what an abstraction
is. And sometimes abstractions come down to earth. But come on, apparently I don't know what these words mean. So hey, let's talk. Come on.
Yeah, bring a dictionary.
Calm down. It's not tender. If this is how, first of all, I've never seen this name Stephen Hammondtree in here. If you're new, welcome. If you're someone different, then, but I don't know if people act like this on Tinder or not. If Tinder was like this, I would be.
Yeah. I don't know because I don't need it. Not on Tinder.
If Tinder was like this, I'd be happy. I'd be happy. No, Tinder is not like this. It's not like this at all. No, it's not. It's where your soul goes to die. Is what it is.
But we were only going to do one more call, were we?
Yeah, we were. So I mean, if people want to call in, and if people, I especially want to talk to folks who think I'm a fraud. There are a lot of those folks out there. Calling me Uncle Tom and stuff, and saying you use all these big words that no one understands, and ha ha ha. It's not my fault that you haven't educated yourself.
Well, she might have left before you gave the definition of abstraction.
I'm sorry.
Out of the dictionary in your mind. So no.
I'm sorry.
So I guess
and this is a critique that a lot of folks have of me. They're like, well, Christian is just saying all these fancy words, and what in the world do they mean? And oh my gosh, these fancy words are going to be the death of God.
Well, she was probably hoping you would explain it for her because she didn't have any fucking clue what you were saying. It's just a projection of my own insecurity.
I don't get it.
God, I hope Christian explains to me what an abstraction is.
I don't. Oh, Jesus Christ. Man, these people are funny. These people are funny. These people are funny, man. Look, and I intentionally try to use, I intentionally try to use, I try to use common words just for the sake of communication.
Abstraction is a common word, man.
It actually is.
Under like 14, you should know what it is.
Okay, this guy's a troll too. Well, watch the language. Your mother's just slipping up. I don't live with my mother. I don't know what your problem is, brother.
Yeah, not everybody lives with their mom, dude. Contrary to like what you and your friends think, that's not true. Like,
Steven,
you and your friends all live with your parents, but come on.
Steven, come talk to us, please. Please come talk to us. I'm enjoying this, man. Come talk to us, Steven. Come on. Come talk to us.
We'll make a clip out of it. It'd be hilarious.
Come talk to us. Talk to us. This is funny.
Also, why?
Why what?
Like, why is he saying this? I don't understand. Like, he's not proposing any argument to anything you and I have said in the last hour and 45 minutes.
They have no arguments.
It's like I
have no arguments.
Friday,
That's
wanted to kick back and hang around some stream with politics that I don't understand.
You know,
I don't get it.
I'm disappointed because I thought that we would be getting a better crowd than this.
Oh, it's been a good crowd.
I mean, no, I mean, like in terms of these trolls, I thought that they would be bringing all the guns out. So, Steven, if you want to talk to us, please.
Part of learning how to fight is learning how to take a hit.
Unless you're not brave enough to talk to us, which is I understand that because people who are induced with cowardice typically don't have very much to say. Otherwise, they typically just run away from everything. So, I mean,
we'll be polite.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not a mean. I mean, I think it's very different to talk to someone through a screen name than it is through on the screen, right? Exactly through the screen. So,
right. Well, the point of having trolls on or people who disagree with us on, which aren't the same thing, by the way, is to to humanize them.
Right.
Like,
Stephen may
behind the comment, please.
Stephen may legitimately think.
Yeah.
He may legitimately think that I'm a wrong-headed, that my views are wrong-headed and wrong and bad, and I want to be able to talk to him about why they're wrong and bad. I mean, Fulchino, who is obviously a very intelligent person, just decided to, test me on several of my contentions in a respectful way, and we had a good time. You guys got a lot out of it, I hope. That's how these things are supposed to happen. That's how these things are supposed to go.
Yeah. I've got a lot of friends who disagree with me. One of my best friends on the planet disagrees with me on several key issues, and it's a great friendship, man. It's like, why would you want to be friends with people who just see things the way you do all the time?
Right.
You and I disagree on stuff. It's so
we do.
fun to have those moments too.
You and that young stuff.
Yeah, I mean that weird young stuff. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean, things would be so boring in life if there were no disagreements.
Yeah, well, what is it? The NPCs. You never want to be an NPC. Have people think for you. Like, have your friends be marionettes, to use a more archaic phrase, named Kirk Wilcox. Is there another objectivist? I don't know much. I forgot what his name was, but he's a smaller one. I forgot what his name was. I'm not sure if he's even making videos anymore, Fulchino. That one.
I'm not sure if he's making videos anymore. Look, Rucker Ali. I'm not sure if you know who he is, Paul.
Nope, I don't know much about objectivism besides Rand.
Oh well, he was okay. He kind of came into objectivism. So Rucker Ali is. I would play one of his songs, but I would get demonetized, and I'm not going to do that. Okay, he's this guy who makes uber insensitive rap songs that mocks people on the basis of their race, and it's all a joke, right? So. One of his songs is called "What Does the Black Say," and another. I mean,
like, what does the fox say? Like a parody of that?
Yeah, it's a parody of that. It's like, "What does the black say?" And one of the parts of the song is like, rob your house, rob your house. Whoa. I mean, yeah. So I don't know about.
We can't play that because our mothers are sleeping upstairs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course, what Steven says,
Brian Bernard is on his channel. Help with his artwork.
Maybe it was Brian. I don't know. Steven, are you going to come talk to us? And by the way, if any of you who just came in want to talk to us, the StreamYard
I'll
link
go get my
below.
mom. I'll go get her if she can talk to.
If any of you who just came on want to talk to us, we're going to do one more call in before we go because we got things to do.
We can't leave until you call us. We're held hostage here by you guys.
Any of you want to call in, just click that link.
Hungry.
We'll talk to you.
We got to go eat lunch. We're getting hungry. We're
I'm
starving.
particularly interested in Steven here, who thinks that my mom's sleeping upstairs when I don't live with my mom.
I love my mom, man. I wish she was here. I wish she was sleeping upstairs. She is one of the bravest, strongest people I know, man.
Absolutely.
She is a kindred spirit. She's great.
Absolutely. So, I mean, but no.
Shout out to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day.
Being a mom it's not Mother's Day.
It should always be Mother's Day, man.
Oh, I agree with you on that one. But no, being a mom is hard. being
You're right. I'm
moms.
sorry. It's Birthing Person's Day. You misspoke.
Birthing person. Oh yeah. We can't say mother anymore. It's gendered language.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Can't say mother. That's gendered language.
No,
and
it should
gendered
be Mother's
language
Day
is
every day,
bad.
man. Yep.
Right.
He's disabled.
Gendered language is a no.
Oh.
We can't do gendered language.
Right. It's like you never know if like somebody has a disabled parent and they need to live with you. Like that's certainly the case. Don't say that.
Oh, that's noble of you, Alexander.
Yeah.
It's very noble of you.
Seriously.
God bless you and yours.
The best kind of nobility is the one you don't brag about.
Yes.
There's so many things people are dealing with that you just don't know. Like I had no idea about that.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And again, I want to do one more call. If we don't get it in the next 10 minutes, we'll go. But
10 minutes?
I want to do one more.
All right.
Yeah. I want to do one more call, guys.
Okay.
I want to do one more call, guys. So please, if you want to talk to us and you have the ability to, and your technology is not messed up, especially if you're a troll, I would love to talk to you. Just click that link right there, and you'll come right to us. You'll come right in here to this conversation, and we'll talk to you.
Yeah, you can either make a fool out of yourself, or you can have an interesting discussion. Pick one. You can't have both. Well, you can't have both if you're me, but yeah.
Oh dear, you believe you're limited to certain things like that. Interesting. But I find that on our shows we tend to deviate from the topic and go to 15 different other topics, which is great, by the way. It's great. I love it.
The title would be so long if you could forecast, like it's like 300 characters long. We're going to talk about all these things. Yeah. But I think within the title itself, it's easy. Well, you should expect sort of a divergence from the main topic because there's always different ideas that are tied to that main idea. Right. So it's acceptable on one. Like, there's no way we could talk about just hard work for 2 hours. As much as I enjoy talking about it,
better.
As much as I enjoy the value of it. It's better to have like the diverse range of discussion too. I like it a lot.
It's better than being bound to network news and being bound to those timelines.
But yeah, going back to what we talked about at the very beginning. Yeah, just have those straight up 3 talking points that you must get through, and that you cannot talk about anything else.
Yeah, it's better than that for these kind of formats. Okay, guys, look, the link's in the chat. If you want to talk to us, we're going to do one more call on. First come, first serve. Talk to us, please.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's very fun. That was a nice little gesture that he had earlier. Like, where can I support you with the lowest cost? That was nice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Man, I'm blessed that there are a lot of people who are wanting to support me in this.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. I mean, that is a beautiful gesture, and Bolshino, you made my day.
Some people want to build other people up. Some people want to tear other people down.
You made my day, man.
Yeah.
In my day, Bolshino.
You're gonna have both. It's gonna happen.
Made my day.
And those people want to tear people down are just insecure. They think, oh well, screw that. I need to tear this down. They're using words they don't understand. It's all projection. I just see it as all projection. It's all just insecurity, projection.
It's hard being. I don't want to make myself seem self-important, but it's hard being an intellectually minded person in today's world.
Sure, it always has been. I think
a lot of people, and I'm not trying to make any statements about anyone in particular, but just what I've observed over the past 4 or 5 years. A lot of people like to speak in memes and GIFs and Twitter threads and
condensed language. Yeah.
And it drives me whenever someone sends me a GIF. I'm like, speak English, man. Speak English. I don't know what this is. Speak English. Yeah.
I understand. Well, yeah. I mean, you have to draw the line. Like memes have their. Like, I'm a big fan of memes, but there's a reason why they work and why they spread. But there is a difference between having what we're doing in a long form podcast and then sharing memes. There's a time and place for all of that. But I think what the point is that you're attempting to make is like, if there's no substitute for real discussion. And maybe there are people who like, oh, look, they're having a intellectual conversation using big words. Haha, let's tear that down. Look how dumb they're being by using this big. You don't understand those words, you big intellect. There's like this is also sort of tied to the hard work thing. There's like this anti-intellect movement too that people have within themselves. Like, it's bad to have these long, to stumble forward in a conversation and to make mistakes or say the wrong word or even use a word the wrong way. Like, let's say I use a word the wrong way and I actually didn't know what the meaning of that word was. So freaking what? I didn't know what it was. Tell me what it was, and then I'll make the correction. Like, anytime you try to say to somebody, oh, well, you don't know the meaning of a word, like, what, you know the meaning of all words? Okay, Mr. Dictionary, Mrs. Dictionary.
Oh, yeah, this happened during the debate. They were like, well, you don't know what essentialization means or what essentialism means. I'm like, no, I'm using the word correctly. And I had several folks say afterwards, yeah, Christian, you use the word correctly. They're just playing word games. And that's what people do, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It eludes me. It eludes me, dude. I don't get it. I don't. This culture is a trip, man. Now this culture is a trip for many reasons, and I made a video, one of my first videos on this channel, which no one has watched because it's so far back in my library, about memes, and I can't stand memes.
Really?
I can't stand them. I hate them. I can't stand memes. I can't stand GIFs. I can't stand it. That kind of stuff. Memes represent the condensation of political conversation, the sort of confining of political conversation to short, snappy pictures that don't reflect. No, really, that don't reflect.
Before everybody tears you apart for this, because I'm a big fan of memes too, and everybody loves memes. But yes, there's condensation going on in it. That is the point of them. I don't think it's just political though. But I think if you have, look, it's like, it comes down to the individual. If they're using memes in a serious political discussion, like, why are you here? First of all,
exactly. Yes, you get my point.
Yeah, but that's not the problem with memes itself. It's the people who use them.
Yeah. Okay.
Time and place.
Look, if memes are put in their particular time and place, fine.
Yeah.
But if you're on Twitter and well, no, it shouldn't be on Twitter in the first place. But if you're on Twitter, you shouldn't have a serious conversation. Twitter is a dumpster fire.
Political discussion.
Yeah. If you're on Twitter to have a serious political conversation, which is your first mistake, you should not be bombarding the conversation with GIFs and memes. I can't stand
I did that
that.
yesterday. Sorry about
Makes me nuts. No, look, Paul, no judgment here, brother. It just drives me insane.
I'm not exempt from your damn judgment. It's fine. Like, I don't.
It drives me nuts. Okay, it drives me up the wall. God.
No, I can understand why it drives you up the wall.
I'm too old for this generation. I'm too old in my spirit for this generation, I think.
It's like when, you join a quasi conversation, it's just a bunch of gifs, and you actually provide a deep explanation. It's like you get pilloried for that. Oh, look at you, Mr. Intellectual. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah, that thing. No, I don't like that either. I like
way too old. Yeah. I mean, I'm 21, and people my age communicate through memes.
I can't.
I can't.
Michael Malice communicates with memes. He's on Twitter all the time.
Oh, Jesus.
But he also uses it to, trolls will respond to him and he'll respond with a meme. And it's actually, I think it's quite funny. Condensation. Well, because it saves time.
Well, just block the trolls or I don't know. You saw I do my trolls. You invite them on your I invite them to talk to me, man. Anyway, I can't stand memes. They make me go insane. And this is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons why I think, people say, "Well, Christian, you seem mature," and it's not something intentional.
Sure.
Well,
yes, if it's intentional, then it's false.
It's just how I am. I'm sorry. I just don't find much. I just don't find much joy in a lot of memes today. Hey, memes are a valid way of getting your laughs, getting your laugh about them. I don't care. Right. They're a valid way. I'm not saying okay, good. But it's just they seem so infantile to me and childish. And it's like, what's wrong with you people? Jesus Christ.
Have you read Dawkins? He's the one who came up with.
Well, I know Dawkins' idea of the meme, right? This idea that rapidly spreads throughout society and becomes replicated and stuff. I know about his idea of the meme, but those are like,
This will be your most hated video of everything you've said. If you make a video out of memes again, it's such a cherished cultural part of us now.
No, people have criticized me. They have said, "Oh, Christian, you're being too serious." No, well, guess what? I take the fate of one of the greatest experiments in the history of humankind very seriously. I take the philosophical understanding of important concepts very seriously. So yes, I am very serious because guess what? Life is at stake here.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing wrong
Life
with
is at
taking
stake.
certain things seriously. I'm a big fan of people who take certain ideas and certain values seriously because they do deserve to be taken seriously. Yeah.
But like, if there's like a meme about, I don't know. Like, let's say there's a blizzard somewhere and someone has a meme of someone being snowed in. Okay, that could be funny, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But if it's like about a very important topic and someone takes the meme and that's their main understanding of the topic, that's annoying. That's annoying, in my opinion.
I just don't want to see it bother you beyond. Like, I don't want to see it bother you too much.
It's everyone has their thing, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has their thing that gets them.
Yeah.
That gets them. And I'm trying to get over this because it's really irrational what I'm doing here. And tiny TikTok videos and Snapchats.
There's nothing wrong with a little nonsense. I think a little nonsense now and then is fun. I'm a big fan of humor. I know you are too. I'm not saying you're not.
No, I am.
You're a
time and place, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I call you
man. I think when humor is being pilloried, then that's when you know, well, this society's over. Goodbye.
Yeah. So, TikTok videos. TikTok.
I don't understand TikTok.
People have been saying you need to make a TikTok.
I don't
think so.
Jordan Peterson's on TikTok.
What?
He made a TikTok once. It was like him reading poetry. I'm serious. It was like him reading a poem he wrote years ago. It was now it's like his podcast clips, but the very first TikTok he made was like him reading a poem. It was hilarious.
Jordan B.
It was a philosophical poem. It was about Nietzsche and Heidegger. I think he wrote it. He's written poetry before. I hate that I know this.
Jordan B. Peterson is on TikTok.
Yeah, now you got to be on it, Mr. Public Intellectual. Oh my god. Thanks to everybody who's been here for the last 2 hours.
Thank you guys for listening to us.
Your Friday evening instead of
Yeah. Oh, okay. Someone's coming in. Oh, finally.
Oh, wow.
Great. All right.
We were about to. It's just a big meme.
Hello.
Something to say about memes.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I can. Yes. Hello.
We can.
Well, my internet connection is stable enough. I guess I can call in after all.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I enjoyed the conversation, and the one thing that I am definitely a philosophy noob. I am not an amateur in all sense of the word, but you had an interesting point of conversation, and we had talked a little bit back and forth in chat and other folks about individualism and collectivism, and I've been trying to explore. Is it possible to go to excesses? Because one of the things I've been observing in my conversations with my friends that are definitely more progressive is that it's almost as if they believe there's no such thing as too much of a good thing in certain circumstances where you're just like, oh yeah, if we just gave this over to the government and we did this, then everything would be better. And I'm like, there is definitely a line where you just go way too far. And I think, and I'm not 100% certain, but that's kind of why I made that comment of like, I think there is such a thing as an excessive amount of individualism, but the way it manifests is so socially abnormal that it's kind of like, well, duh. Like, if you believe in individualism to so much the extent that you are not interfacing with society in any way, shape, or form, then could you theoretically, wouldn't that be detrimental to yourself and or society around you? I don't know. I'm just exploring that thought. I'm not deciding by any
No. Good. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So my perspective is this. I think that there's a difference between being an individualist and being a solipsist. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that term, solipsism is simply the idea that everything that matters in existence, everything that manifests in existence, does so from your mind. Yep. You are basically the only unit of reality. That is a very dangerous idea. That is not individualism. That is the inversion of individualism. Because individualism exists in the context of social relationships and puts the emphasis and value on the individual, but the individual still exists within the context of social relationships. So we should not be isolationist or solipsists. I think, however, people should determine to themselves how much society matters to them, right? Thoreau determined for himself how much society mattered to him. He didn't buy into this idea of obligation to charity or to do good. He said, I can only do what my own genius accounts for me to do. I can only do what I am primed to do. I don't have an obligation just because I live in a society to do X, Y, or Z. And so I think that we all have a natural negative obligation not to interfere in other people's lives in manners that include force.
Yep.
But that's not a societal obligation. That's a natural obligation. That is the obligation that actually births society itself. Society does not birth it. But beyond that, I think that individualism does not necessarily require isolationism, or even necessitate isolationism. It kind of necessitates still being in relationship with certain people in society, but deciding things for yourself.
Sort of. No, Eric, go ahead. Go ahead if you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I think that's a good point of clarification. I was just trying to see where that line is of, and maybe it's just becomes a different thing at that point when you go beyond the excesses of individualism, or you take that line of thinking too far, because I think there might be some virtues in, I'm personally very libertarian leaning, and so while I don't believe there's much of value in having top-down society or things like that, I can't deny that there have been some benefits from that sort of thing. And where's that line? Where do you find, I don't know. It's hard. It's been hard for me to kind of pin down. What's that fine point of going too far? So I don't know. So you were going to say something, Paul?
Yeah, you mentioned excess. We all know excess exists. And you also made the point that there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. And it was cool to hear you sort of prodding at your progressive friends and saying, well, hold on a second. You have good intentions, but is there a line that you don't want to cross? Now, individualism, the question of individualism, I'm still trying to figure out if, and I know we talked about it earlier on in the discussion, and I heard Christian's points, if individualism is a value that might be exempt from the dangers of excess. I don't know. I'm just raising it as a question. Is that sort of what you were attempting to figure out, if individualism might be exempt from an excess?
Yeah. Well, so I mean, the idea is not my own.
Sure.
I can't claim it, but the whole Thomas Sowell's concept of trade-offs. There's no such thing as only positives. There's only trade-offs or whatever. I butchered that quote, I'm sure, but I it's like, are there exceptions to that rule? Is individualism an exception to that rule? I feel like there might be an exception, but as to Christian's point, maybe once you get to that point, it's becoming something else entirely. So it's not really individualism anymore. So I don't know.
I don't know if we know yet. Like, I don't know if this experiment has been going on. This experiment in America, what Christian calls it, has been going on for long enough for us to know, like, what the upper limits of freedom are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, we obviously have always tended towards collectivism or authoritarianism just by virtue of our, well, I feel like historically, in the broad view of humankind, I feel like there's always been a drive to, there's always been people that are trying to exercise authority over others.
Yeah,
well, yes,
I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely, but America
is the unique, more the unique exception in the sense that, like, hey, this is like one of the first times we've gotten
not just the exception, the repudiation.
Yeah,
the repudiation. If you look at the American documents,
the outlier.
If you look the repudiation, though, because you could be an outlier and not mean to be an outlier. America was established with the intent to be a repudiation, to intent to be an exception. You had these men who who saw themselves as human beings should see themselves, as divinely invested beings with certain rights and certain faculties, which allow them to understand and call upon the powers of the earth in a way that people before them couldn't. People in these advanced European societies who had all these kings and libraries just still couldn't tap into the basic practical truths of the American experiment, which birthed a structure which I think is probably the best for human flourishing and existence. So it was a repudiation of thousands of years of human history before it.
Yeah.
And that accounts for something.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's valuable. It's super important. I was just trying to think of, we probably haven't gotten to the point in human history where we have seen so much in terms of the excesses of individualism, or gotten to that point because we haven't come from that spot. We've been coming from the other side of the pendulum.
And as the economic and technological advancements, especially the technological advancements, keep increasing, who the hell knows?
Yeah. It's just a thought experiment.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely happier where we're at now.
I'm glad you came on and brought this up, because sometimes I do worry when I address, or when maybe even we address viewer comments, like we don't, because we're not having you on until the end, and so we don't really get to explore the nuance of the conversation. So I never wanted this to sound like I'm being dismissive to your points.
Sure.
So I'm glad you came on and expounded upon this.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's easier to do it talking instead of just writing all the time.
Yeah.
So thanks for the time.
Important stuff.
Yeah.
It's important stuff. Thank you for coming on, Eric. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Let's talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Yeah. That was
it's interesting. Interesting stuff. I'm not sure if upper limits, freedom, upper limits of individualism. I don't know about all those concepts.
Sure. I mean, I don't know either. I don't know. We'll see. The One Voice is here. Remember him?
Yes, the One Voice. How are you doing? I'm sorry, we're about to go. One Voice. We've gone over our 2-hour limit, so we both got to do things.
We're way past our bedtime.
Yeah, well, no, we both got to do things, and I gotta make that video about NPR. I didn't do that beforehand, which is my mistake. But I gotta make that video about NPR, which is going up tonight in a few hours. So, guys, thank you guys so much for being here. I love every one of you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting Paul. If you're gonna go see Paul, where can people go see you at?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at Paul Lecrone. Also, same thing on Twitter at Paul Lecrone. Paul_Lecrone on Twitter and Paul Lecrone on YouTube. I'm kind of all over the place. I dive into politics, entrepreneurship, whatever. And
also, please, guys, join the Discord if you haven't already. Please join the Discord. The Discord is going to be an indispensable resource to get connected with me. Please join the Discord.
We've got
the Discord.
We've got sections on philosophy, economics, theology, history, music. Shared
it's kind of turned into a unfortunate meme fest, but that won't last forever, I promise you.
There's memes here and there. I think Christians being dramatic. Sometimes there's memes, but there is space to discuss. I mean, I'm looking at the philosophy section right now. It's just all words. It's just like like a book.
Yeah.
There's people.
So I encourage you. Yeah, I encourage you guys to join. I think all of you. We benefit when all of you come in.
Oh, we already just got a new member, Commander Osis.
We got one new member. Let's see if we can get many more.
Yeah. We encourage you to discuss. You can also make suggestions, too, about the podcast, Pensive Politics, and more.
Politics.
It's when you know you've been going on for too long. Politics. No taxation without representation.
That's the ethos of the American Revolution. There Paul goes, being the right kind of woke, not the wrong kind of woke, the right kind of woke.
Yeah,
you
call me the right kind of woke, like on the last episode. I was like, all right.
You are the right kind of woke. man of faith kind of woke.
But thanks so much for being here, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
All right, guys. I love you guys so much. And please, as always, stay pensive. Bye, guys.